Regalion Part 7. Sit down and listen to the history of a far-off world in a far-off universe. Reapers are mainly ruthless killers who would hunt and kill without prejudice, and sometimes kill the host if it means that they can destroy the creature within. Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to Cosy Reads. I hope you've all been keeping well. Thank you for joining me around the fire again for another story. Today's tale will carry on with the Regalion saga, as we witness Scathe explain the history of Max's realm, going through the magic of their realm, when the Daemon arrived, and how the Reapers fit into all of it. So, I hope you're all sitting comfortably, get your snacks and drinks ready, and let's sit down for another story. A long time ago, there were extremely powerful wizards and witches called the Ancients, who vied for political power. They wanted peace, and their mistake was using their powers to try and achieve it. However, this brought the wrath of the people who were already in power, calling themselves the Unyielding, and to keep their position, they ultimately unleashed a terrible evil onto the world. Using dark magic practices, they bridged the gap between your world and the world of the Daemon. A hellish world of evil creatures from another dimension who feed off the torment and suffering of living beings. The creatures use this bridge to break through to your world, tormenting and killing the people of Regalion. The creatures then started to take over, manipulating the Unyielding and bolstering their conviction to stay in power. This led to the mass killings and burnings of the Ancients, with the Ancients finding it more difficult to defend themselves, expending most of their power forcing back the evil creatures, as well as protecting whenever they could. The Unyielding then used this instability to convince the public that it was the Ancients who had summoned these creatures to control the world. But unable to control these creatures, the Ancients resorted to fending them off and trying to fix their mistakes. Due to the fear and the need for a leader, the public rallied with the Unyielding and ultimately aided in the mass killings of the Ancients. However, the evil creatures, unable to be controlled, threatened to spread their corruption to the rest of the world, wanting to feast on whomever they could. The Unyielding, while not being as powerful as the Ancients, were still in tune with magical energy. They used this tie with magical energy to break the control that the Daemons were now imposing, ultimately allowing them to come to their senses. Max could tell that for Scathe this must have been a horrible time. To watch and not be able to aid must have been truly torturing, with the country of Regalia most likely in disarray, allowing sin and corruption to run rampant. Sin and corruption are not that bad. The world was way too goody two-shoes back then. People needed a little spice in their life. Butrid interrupted, stirring in his lantern. Butrid, even you know that what happened back then went too far. It became less about feeding and more about genocide. Even you know that the Daemon are not genocidal creatures. They are driven by hunger, not outright devastation. Scathe interjected with a somber smile. Butrid did not say anything. Instead, his lantern stopped moving, but they all knew that Scathe had hit a nerve with Butrid. Daemon are supposed to be creatures that unwittingly do the bidding of the higher-ups, but Butrid had become something else. He went against the ideology of the Daemon higher-ups, and he made it his ultimate goal to kill off the higher-ups and take their position. This conflicted with why Butrid was made, still giving him food for thought every time his conflicting views were brought up. It was one of the only ways to silence a creature that feeds off sin. People were attacking, maiming, raping anyone they could. The Ancients stretched thin trying to fix the mistakes of the Unyielding. By the Unyielding breaking the control that the Daemon had on them, they came to their senses long enough to begrudgingly seek the aid of the remaining Ancients. And what one could not do alone, together they could seal away the creatures, forcing most of them back to their world, with the only exception being the weaker Daemon that managed to slip through the cracks. The creatures forcing themselves to push out to the rest of the world before they were sealed away, could manifest themselves physically and mentally, tormenting their host and twisting their mental state. However, this rocky alliance did not last long. The Unyielding eventually turned on the Ancients again, killing them and claiming that the Unyielding were the ones who banded together to stop the creatures. A few Ancients escaped and set up roots in other parts of the world. This is essentially the story of your world's past. One thing to remember is that the seal was never perfect, foretelling a day when the seal will be broken, and individuals who harbour the power of the Ancients must rise and finish the seal. Scathe then closed her eyes as if in deep thought, reflecting on the history lessons she just gave them. Max had heard this story numerous times, but he had always felt that something was missing, that Scathe was holding out, but he never pondered on it enough to bring it up. It seemed difficult enough just recounting and reliving the story. Wait, but would the descendants of the Unyielding be needed? Because the Unyielding sound like disgusting individuals. And luckily, I know this girl, not going to name any names, but just know that she's a complete bit. Before Bree could finish, Scathe politely interjected, stating that the descendants of the ancients, known as the God-Forsaken, are powerful enough that they may be able to perfect the Daemon still on their own. Also, the Unyielding compared to the ancients were not powerful enough to seal away the Daemon. Okay, so what about the Reapers? What the hell are you guys? I know as much as anyone else that you hunt down Daemon and can banish them, but this involves huge amounts of power? Bree asked while looking over at Max, as if trying to figure out an answer to her question just by looking at him. As time went on, the Unyielding started to train some individuals and named them Reapers. They trained them to hunt down the creatures that were still wandering our world, also bestowing them with small abilities used to break into the minds of the afflicted and force the creatures out, Scathe explained to Bree. Max used this opportunity to interject and explain. Reapers are mainly ruthless killers, who would hunt and kill without prejudice, and sometimes kill the host if it means that they can destroy the creature within. In the Reaper faction, 7 elite Reapers are highly trained, supremely powerful Reapers. They were created for the main purpose of being able to rival the supreme Alpha Daemon. However, not much else is known about them. They are highly secretive and fiercely loyal to the ones they work for. They are also incredibly dangerous, not hesitating to kill if it means that the Daemon they are hunting is eradicated. All Reapers live by this code, where eliminating the Daemon comes first, but for the 7, they will kill indiscriminately, whether innocent or not, if they have an inkling that the individual is associated with the Daemon. Max had gotten a little heated, but his stance on the Reapers was strong. He thought about how it was easy to look on the outside and for someone to make up their idea of what the Reapers are, but being a Reaper opened his eyes to just how cruel they can be to complete a job. And yet the Reapers seemed tame to the beings he met later. And that brings chapter 7 of the story to an end. I hope you are all enjoying this series. What are your thoughts on the history of Max's realm? There are similarities with Max's realm and our own, but as you have seen, there are many differences. Magic, while uncommon, exists in Max's realm, sparking ancient rivalries and wars with world-devouring demonic forces. And the Reapers have been mentioned again, with their significance in the story becoming clearer. So stick around as we explore more stories between these rival factions, and discover more about the Reapers and just where they fit in. But until then, I hope you have all sufficiently warmed up and that this story has brought you some level of comfort. I wish you safe travels on the journey of life, and feel free to come back again whenever you need a new story to warm your day.